It has been an intense competition this year and every team has left it all on the court. There is a lot at stake and the team who does finish in last place will be relegated to the challenge section next year. So don't miss a minute of the action here this afternoon. I'm Lynn Carpenter and I'm delighted to be joined for the last game today in the commentary box by Deb Jones. Deb, welcome. How are you?
Oh my gosh, really excited for this last game because, you know, really from a selfish perspective with Emirates Netball, we know that this result might actually count for us.
It could very well do, and of course, England have played outstanding this weekend. They're the only team unbeaten so far, 3 out of 3. If Scotland were to beat them, and Scotland have shown some brilliant passages of play, it could mean that there is a tie for second, third, fourth, and it could mean that the relegation battle all goes on goal difference.
And I think that would make me extremely nervous given the way that England performed against us last night. We know that we would have needed more goals for this result to actually count for us, so we're desperate, we're all cheering. Obviously we want great netball from both teams, that's absolutely imperative, and we've seen some super netball from all the athletes this weekend, but you know, for us, from a selfish perspective, we're really rooting for England for this match.
Nothing to do with the fact you played for England before yourself.
Nothing to do with that as well. But you know, yesterday, Lynn, they just came out so strongly. They were like 12 musketeers out on the court. It was like one for all for one. You know, everything they fought for and you know covered each other. So yeah, I'm really excited about today's game.
And of course, Scotland have 2 out of 3 wins under the belt this weekend. They will have been disappointed against the loss when they played Wales on Friday, but some amazing play by that young group of athletes too.
Yeah, they did, and they came out extremely strongly against us. I mean, our girls really struggled to counteract some of the things that they were putting on against us, and you know, having Barry on at goal shooter makes a huge difference for a team. You know, you've got to mix up that defence in there, but if the feeds are inch perfect, it's really difficult for any defence to get their hands to those balls.
So we'll shortly be bringing you the starting 7 for each of the teams here this afternoon. As you can see, England are taking to the court and their lineup today is goal shooter Thacker, Neil goal attack, Bayliss in at wing attack, centre Roebuck, wing defence Tankua, goal defence Harding, and their captain Faduju in at goalkeeper. Vicky Burgess is the England coach here this weekend. And now over to Scotland. Goal shooter Barry, goal attack Cairns, McMichael in at wing attack, their captain Nina Mowat in at centre, wing defence Atkinson, goal defence Sherry, and goalkeeper Boland. Coach Kim Wharton. So some interesting lineups there, Deb, which we'll talk about in a moment. We're just now waiting for our umpires to take control of the game. Umpires today are Kate Mann and Ryan Edwards. The reserve umpire is Claire Williams. So interesting lineup in the goal shooter circle there for Scotland. Barry, her height posed against the elevation of Faduju.
That's the thing that just excites me most about this game. I can't wait for the matchup between those two players.
So we're underway here at the University of Huddersfield. England score off their first centre pass.
It's really interesting from England there, putting the pressure on at that centre pass, making it difficult for Scotland to see that feed.
They're really shutting down the options on Scotland's second phase. So a slightly different lineup for England today. Thacker very consistent again, 2-0, they lead their centre pass.
Yeah, she's a real target for them in the circle. You know, that's going to be difficult when they're feeding so well. That's difficult. Like I said, you know, before, it's difficult for a goalkeeper to get anywhere near that ball. She looks really calm and composed when she's underneath the post as well.
And as we've said throughout this weekend, all 12 of these England players have contracts with an NPL and Super League team. Do you think that makes a difference?
Oh my gosh, that makes a huge difference. The amount of input that they're getting on a weekly basis you know, and the S&C support and all of the other things that come with being part of a franchise. They're looking strong, they're athletic, they're a difficult team to beat. They look extra special, actually, Lynn.
I don't think anyone would disagree with you, Deb, having seen them play all weekend. And 4-0, just over 2 minutes gone.
A great turnover there by Scotland. They really needed that.
But Michael placed that ball beautifully in there to Barry.
That's great. That's well deserved by Atkinson for turning that ball over there.
But immediately an unforced error by Scotland. England now lead. Row back on the centre pass.
That's a really strong start for England as well. The ball's just going through the court a little bit too easily. Scotland need to be slowing that down.
I think we saw that against Emirates yesterday as well,
I think you saw a lot of that yesterday against Emirates.
Elevation and pressure there by Tankua.
Great reading of play there by Fiducia.
The whole of that unit defence there read that really well. And the speed of transition down the court to Thacker to allow England to take a 7-1 lead at this stage. Just 3 minutes of this first quarter gone.
Yeah, that's a great score for England and a great start for them. And that's really unsettling as a team as well, to know that you've had a few goals put against you and you've got to start thinking on your feet and changing it. You can't afford to wait to get to quarter time to let the coach deliver the information that you actually need out on the court.
And unfortunately, that's the second Scotland centre pass on the trot where there's been an unforced error. Can't afford to do that at this level.
Yeah, those centre passes, when you've been given possession of the ball, all of that really counts, so you've got to take care of that. The ball placement for England is really, really good in this game and throughout the whole of it as well.
I chatted to Vicky Burgess after the game last night, coach of England Netball, and she said she'd set them some specific targets around using the triangle, rather than always just look for the high pop into Thacker, which is on most of the time, but getting that combination.
Yeah, and it is really important for them to have, you know, specific targets, because, you know, changing up that, some of these players may find themselves in the World Youth Cup and you're not going to be able to throw long ball in against the Australia and New Zealand defence. So this is the time to practice all of those things rather than just taking the easy option all the time.
That's that really good drive along the baseline, which Thacker's been doing all weekend. 9-1, they lead.
It's great for England, and it's also great for Emirates Netball as well.
That wouldn't be anything to do about Emirates really wanting to stay up in this league. And of course you had that really exciting game, first day, 44-43 against Northern Ireland. Last literally shot of the game. Reminded me of the Commonwealth Games gold medal for England against Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I do know that that Georgia Allen, one of her idols is Helen Housby. So that will have been just an amazing feeling for both, you know, for Georgia to have experienced that kind of pressure underneath the post.
Oh, for Juju, absolutely reading that ball and its trajectory. Just wasn't quite the right height, right depth. So 11-1 up. Deb, what have Scotland got to do? They can't afford to wait to half time here. There's somebody on the court needs to grab the game.
Yeah, they're just giving England too much of a run of the game. You know, that they're not tight enough on. They're not delaying runs into the pockets. They're, you know, opening up their up body angles to allow England to get into the spaces that they need to get into. You know, all of that ill discipline will actually be costly.
So good rebound by Sherry.
You know, not looking looking down the court is really important as well, but making sure that there are two really strong offers. A lot of those prelim moves need to be done a little bit earlier to make sure that they're ready for that ball carrier. Another great shot there. That's great by Neil. She looks really calm on the ball too.
So Neil trying to find that space, but
you know, we know that for Doju, her strength is elevation. You know, the power that she gets off the ground is unreal. So throwing a high ball up into there is like Christmas for her. They need to be making sure that they get in front position in that circle to try and do anything against her. I would have liked to have seen Thacker take that long shot there.
We'll be aware that the return ball might come from the goal attack. The coach is saying never take your eye off the ball.
Yeah.
There is a reason for that. A few footwork errors in there, a bit surprising by both teams.
Yeah, and I'm sure that part of that is because Scotland are feeling a lot of pressure at the minute. They'll be looking at the scoreboard, you know, looking at that clock ticking, wanting to do a little bit better than they are. And they are better than, you know, than making basic errors like this. They certainly never did that against us.
Well, we're inviting Jerry Maguire into the comments box at half-time, so we'll see what her thoughts are on both teams here, but the tournament at whole, and also what she would do if she was coaching.
Yeah, I know. I think Scotland also need to raise the intensity a little bit. You know, they're, like I said, they're allowing England to do too many things rather than closing options off for them.
So quite a big gap now, 15 against 1. 6.5 minutes left in this first quarter. And that domination, they drive that side of the court, the left-hand side of the court, really well. Use that triangle down there. There's no response from Scotland at the moment.
Yeah, which is interesting because actually the defence is seeing that happen all the time. And that's the kind of thing that they need to be doing, you know, knowing that the ball's coming down the same side all the time. They need to be reading that and coming out for intercepts. And again, you know, Faduju proving there that she's a world-class defender.
She's being
amazing hands, again underestimating her reach.
And she's been coached, as I understand it, by a world-class netballer, Amanda Newton.
She has, and I recognise a lot of the style of what she's putting out on the court with Amanda.
Who you know very well.
Yes, I do, having played with her. It was really nice to have. It was like having a safety net behind you when you've got Amanda in the circle coming out with intercepts, just like she is today.
So England centre pass again. Scotland will be extremely disappointed. They've only managed to find the net once in this quarter.
Yeah, I think they will be disappointed in that, knowing that they can service their shooters much better than they have been. But again, they just need to be offering something different against that defensive unit that England are putting on against them.
Better by Scotland there. Moet getting a hand to the ball that came across the top of the circle. They need to drive. There's just a little bit of hesitation there, isn't there?
They are. I mean, they're setting up really quickly for those dead ball situations, but the attackers are just not responding and making sure that the ball carrier's got something to give the ball to. That was unlucky by the keeper. She just needed to move around the front just a little bit quicker to close that ball off.
Well, there's been lots of activity on the Netball Europe feed. Lots of people pleased for Wales in second place, but as we said just before the start of the game, let's wait to see what happens here. The Wales team and the Welsh supporters could perhaps be feeling a little bit confident at this stage.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I mean, that's a really a big deficit for Scotland to be able to come back at. I mean, I'm hoping that they come out in the second quarter, firing, having been given a little bit of input by the coaching staff. I'd be interested to be a fly on the wall in that team talk at quarter time.
And England continue to score really strongly, 20 so far. this quarter with still 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm sure that they will have set themselves, after their great performance last night, I am absolutely sure they'll have set themselves similar targets for today's game.
So remember, if you'd like to give us your thoughts on this game, the weekend, who you think has been outstanding across the tournament, you can do that by using our hashtag #NE17Champs. Gaynor Davis has tweeted in. You're actually here in the stadium somewhere. I'm not sure if you're listening on the live stream feed. I'm looking to see if anyone puts their hands up in the audience, but you're very welcome here. Bev Powell holding her breath about the Wales-Scotland opportunities. She may be feeling a little bit more comfortable now.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. That's really mixed the competition up this year, the whole promotion relegation aspect of it. I mean, in previous years, yeah, you know, it's not a difficult position to be sitting at the bottom of the table, but actually to know that you can come back in the same division the following year and have another chance with a new set of athletes, you know, that's the really difficult thing now, because it actually means something to be, you know, not on the bottom of that table, because, you know, as players, we know that there's lots of transient movement at under 17 age group, but it's always really nice to know that your following year's players are going to be having the same level of competition.
And as we've been saying this weekend, Deb, we head to Gibraltar for the Under-17 Challenge, which will take place Friday to Sunday next weekend. Another 10 teams. I'm delighted that Netball Europe will be able to bring all of those matches to you live on our live stream feed, thanks to our partnership with both QTV Sports and Jib Media this time.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. I mean, I feel that, you know, that would have served us really well last October. It was really disappointing, but, you know, I do recognise that there's not enough funding in the sport, and it would be really good for us to get a really good backer so that we can get netball out there, raise the profile amongst all of our member countries. I do know that, you know, there have been a lot of views, particularly within the Emirates, of the netball, just like they supported the Open last year. So I know that even though Emirates Netball won't be competing, they will be just as interested in the netball next weekend as they have been this weekend.
And do you think, as one of the coaches here, you will be able to use the live stream to your advantage? Do you think it adds a pressure to these young athletes? Are they able to switch up from it and not worry about it? How do you deal with all that as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, Joe and I talked at length to the players about making sure that they, use it in a positive way, you know, to analyse their performance. But actually, you know, it's more about the sport than it is about them. They need to concentrate on their own game. When they're on the court, they need to be blocking out all of those other pressures. But, you know, they're involved in a world that we never were in growing up. You know, the world is full of social media, isn't it? So for them, I suppose, it's not as big a pressure to them as we actually think it is.
Well, that is very true, DJ. Some of us are getting on a little bit, present company accepted, of course. But here we are, last 30 seconds of this first quarter, 24 for England, 2 for Scotland.
Another dominating start by England. I'm sure they'll be really pleased with the performance that they've put out today after their amazing win last night.
So, Jane Evans, glad you're here in the arena. Not sure exactly where, but you're welcome. Hope you're enjoying both Twitter feeds, live streaming, and of course the match itself in this brilliant facility at University of Huddersfield.
Oh, it's great. You know, it's brilliant for the spectators, having people on both sides, you know, not only on the bench but on the opposite side as well. The crowd have been brilliant. You know, it doesn't matter which teams are playing. I certainly know that the Emirates parents last night were cheering just as loudly for England as they were for Emirates.
Yeah, there's a real camaraderie, and I think one of the things the region has worked hard on, supported by all its member countries, is this notion that it's competitive on the court but collaborative off the court. And when we interviewed Joanna Adams, Chief Exec of England, yesterday, she talked a lot about recognising the responsibility that countries like England Netball have to support others in the region, because actually the stronger everyone else is, the better England are in the longer term too.
Yeah, and it is important, you know, in any sport for those that are the strongest to actually, because you're only as good as your weakest link, aren't you? So by building from the bottom, it can only be really good for the sport, and that camaraderie, Lynn, you know, doesn't stop when you finish playing, does it? You know, we see all of these volunteers here. You know, they've all been part of playing, and then, you know, once they've retired, like both of us, well, sort of, you know, they still stay involved, and that it creates one big netball family.
Well, we'll talk about that more. You can see now that we're bringing you some of the key positions on the court and some of the fantastic replays that have just happened in that first 15 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed that quick reminder of the first quarter. The score here in Huddersfield in the last game of our 10 this weekend. England are winning the match at this moment in time 24-2. So expect some changes, probably at quarter time from at least Scotland here.
Yeah, I would expect so, and I'm sure Vicky will roll her bench as well with a 24-2 scoreline. But yeah, certainly some changes from Scotland, whether that's new players coming on or the coach just giving a little bit more input for the players that are actually on to make a difference this quarter.
And thank you for your comments and feeds. Soph, we totally agree with you. She says she's in absolute awe of Faduju, the England goalkeeper. She has been amazing and outstanding in that quarter.
Yeah, and not just this quarter as well. I mean, yesterday when she came on against us, our players really struggled to see any space in there. So Amanda and the team that are behind, the coaching team that are behind Faduju have done just a phenomenal job with her. She's a great player.
So the match will shortly be underway again. What's your reflections of the overall weekend here, Deb?
For me, it's all about the players and, you know, their experiences both on and off the court, and I think there's been a really nice atmosphere, you know, within the camp. But certainly there's been a lot of learning on the court particularly, and I think that's for all players as well, because consistency is key, and I know that Scotland have played much better than they have in this first quarter, so I'm hoping that they come out and show the kind of netball that I know that I certainly saw them play against Emirates netball. You know, this is an exciting opportunity for them to come out now and make a massive difference. So it is, for me, all about the learning and the personal experiences of these players.
So let's see, there is a number of changes for Scotland, which we will bring you shortly. See how it translates into play. Yeah. They're just not getting the measure of Faduju, are they?
No, they're not. You know, but you know, fresh legs might make a difference for them. You know, we noticed that they weren't offering as much as they should have been. So let's hope that that does make the difference that they need in this quarter. Great shot there for England to score, you know, take a turnover and score off that first goal. They've just got so much space around the circle edge, and you know, they're being allowed to drive onto the edge as well. They really need to stop that drive.
It's all about the precision passing in there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, which is what we talked about earlier. You know, ball placement is absolutely key. It can break down any defensive unit if the attackers can see where the space is. That's a real shame for Scotland, you know, finding Barry underneath the post there. She just needs to relax a little bit, because once she puts that first shot in, I'm sure the rest of them will follow. It does look tough in that circle, though, to be fair. The Scottish defence are really trying, but the shooter movement from England is on point today.
So as you can see, England have rotated the shooters, so Thacker's taken to the bench, Molly Hull is back on again. And I think one of the things we saw yesterday, and again talking to Vicky Burgess, she's got so many options in attack. She can rotate 2 full units of the goal shooter goal attack. She can mix and match. So that flexibility as a coach must be really positive.
Oh my gosh, yeah, versatility in players is absolutely crucial. I mean, I'm sure it's rare nowadays for coaches to be looking for one-trick ponies when they're selecting their teams. You know, the ability to offer all 3 positions within a mid-court unit, or to be able to span 2 court areas, is just massive for any coach.
Really well read there by Michael at the tip. The Scotland didn't quite contain it. Brilliant interception by Grant there, just unlucky.
When you've worked so hard for an intercept, you just need to be able to make sure that you're taking care of the ball. Right, they've got another opportunity. Let's see if they can use this effectively now down the court. Underestimating the arms of the English squad, and they've all got big rangers.
That's great vision, choosing the right option under the post. Great drive by Neil in there at goal attack, pulling the defenders, creating space for Hull. So the score now creeping ever up, and 30 goals for England plays Scotland's 2.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed that Scotland have not managed to get the ball through the ring in this quarter, just to allow them to settle a little bit. You know, they're just making some basic errors that England will crucify them for.
And it is that speed of transition, placement of ball, vision that they've got.
Yeah. The speed of release of England is really difficult as well. You know, they've really got to be tight on those players to stop that first time ball. Unlucky there by Grant. She did try and come out for that ball just a little bit too late, but good awareness.
And McKnight now on at goal attack for Scotland.
Great feed by the centre. I'm hoping they can capitalise on this. Yes, one in Scotland. Great. I'm hoping that gives the confidence for some more in this quarter.
Great reverse dodge there by Hull. So 33-3, 5 minutes gone. 10 minutes to half time. Just another enforced error.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're clearly feeling the pressure out there, but you know, they need to look forward, and there needs to be those offers on forward for them. But being patient as well, you know, where is the square ball, and taking responsibility for that and driving the ball through yourself if you know that there's nothing on in front.
So Stacey Tankua's college is watching again, supporting her.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure that they're really excited about that. I'm sure she'll get lots of positive feedback about her performance today. She's really making the wing attack work hard.
That was a better paced ball, finding Barry.
Great shot by Barry.
Lots of pressure when you haven't put the ball up that much in a match to get it. Long shot.
Yeah. But, you know, let's hope that that's just the start of something special for Scotland. They need to just be delivering the ball to her. They need to be able to find her in the circle. Now that she's got her eye in, they just need to deliver the ball to her. I think Faduju's presence in there is absolutely massive. I think the feeders are really quite nervous about feeding that ball. and checking the and checking the shots. I don't think our shooters have ever had any shots checked, and I think Faduju did that regularly yesterday, and just showing again one of the things that she does so well.
So here comes England again.
Great drive.
Both shooters offering options there at the same time. At 2 balls.
Yeah, they are.
Choice.
Yeah. Neil's a real playmaker in there.
Great vision. So
Shot.
38 plays 4 halfway through the second quarter here in Huddersfield. And what a weekend of netball it's been so far.
Yeah, brilliant. And the other thing that's really nice is that every single one of the players that stepped out, you know, what did we say? 60 players from 5 teams, every single one of them capped for their countries. I mean, that's an amazing achievement in itself.
Great pressure by Scotland, forced a turnover on 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm hoping that they capitalise on this now. You know, it's opportunities like that they really need to make use of. A little bit of depth in attack would really create something different for them as well.
That was a lucky pick-up off the post.
It's Christmas again for Faduju. All of those balls that go up in the air have got her name on them. It's a rare miss by Hull.
I think if we looked at the stats for England netball for all their 4 shooters over the whole of the weekend, they'd be pretty impressive.
I would say 90% plus.
Which is coaches, that was great reading there.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
By Sherry.
You know, if all of them want to be future roses, that's exactly the kind of performance that Tracy Neville would be wanting from shooters.
There was a time not that many years ago where 80% was the aim for shooters. I mean, the bar just keeps going higher and higher, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, like anything. You know, incremental gains are absolutely massive in any particular sport. We know that, you know, 100 metres are won by hundreds of a second. So the higher percentage, we know that the better the score line's going to be for those teams.
Barry. Confident player when she gets the opportunity.
Yeah, and it is about giving her those opportunities, Lynn, because clearly she's confident enough to be able to do it. It's just making sure that we can see her in the circle. Oh, great drive, but the defence need to be stopping that. The rotation from those shooters is really, really good, but the defence are not offering anything against it at the minute.
39-5.
Some of the movement, you know, off the ball is pretty pedestrian. You know, the prelim moves, the first move needs to be as good as the second move for the cutback, and they're not, so that they're not convincing, which means that England are not going to go with them.
That was a great take by Molly Hole in there. Just didn't quite finish it. Great tenacity by Sherry and Grant in there in the circle for Scotland.
Yeah, the ball's not flowing as well as I've seen it with Scotland. You know, the first time balls are going to be absolutely crucial. If you wait on that ball, England are going to tie up those attackers. Good, I'm glad to see that Barry's moving now. It's just a shame that again, ball placement is key into that circle, but that's really good that Barry's actually doing something different now against Faduju. Tankard, she just drives really strongly through the court. That's great. Saving the legs of the attackers, bringing the ball through for them from the back end.
Hole is absolutely dominating.
Yeah, she'll be pleased with that after the 2 previous misses. She'll be glad to have got one in to settle herself again.
Remember, if you are watching, let us know your thoughts here on the game. Netball generally, because there isn't really anything else to talk about. Hashtag any under 17 champs. So Tom has texted in, or Temi, sorry, haven't got my glasses on. Really pleased with the England performance. I think we'd agree. Her little sister is Fumi, so the captain for
England.
Great. Watching her. I hope you're enjoying it. She's playing fantastically well, Temi.
She is. You know, and I'm sure you've heard us wax lyrical about her during this game, and it's much deserved praise, I have to say.
So 42 plays 5, 3 minutes to go.
Oh, great movement there.
Much better by Scotland.
Yeah, Grant needs to do that a little bit more often. You know, tempt the space and then go for the ball.
She's going round the front with a reverse hand. Unfortunate out of court call.
You know, 2 minutes 32 on the clock. I'm wondering what the captain of Scotland is thinking at the minute about her team's performance. It's really important that, you know, she helps to raise the motivation levels on that court. You know, there needs to be a little bit more communication on there. You know, I know it's really hard when the ball's coming down at a rate of knots, but you've got to be able to change up your play to make a difference.
What's great is you can see that all the players are still really committed. I'm sure they're aware of the score, but it's every ball is still being contested.
Yeah, it is. That's great, and that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about all of the performances this weekend. No matter what the score lines are, none of those girls have given up on that court. That's, you know, that's testament to what the coaches have instilled in them during training sessions, and it's great to see.
So a change for Scotland, Mowat taken to the bench.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Mowat's not injured coming off with, you know, just under 2 minutes to go. Well, let's see if Scotland can capitalise on this gain of possession now. They really could do with this before the half-time break, Lynn.
They're getting forced wide and flat all the time.
Yeah.
Just need to get a bit more depth on there and options.
Yeah, too many offers in the same channel as well. You know, not reading where the players are moving in front of them. You know, that's the thing that's crippling them at the minute. I don't know whether it's fatigue as well. You know, it's quite tough, isn't it, to turn yourself round. I know that they've only had one game today, but to turn yourself round 2 games in a day, do all of the recovery, you know, make sure that that you've had plenty of rest in between each one of those, done your analysis, and it's a pretty intense schedule for these girls. I'm sure there are a few tired legs out there on the court today.
It's well read by Sherry in there. The combination change for Scotland has been quite effective with Sherry and Grant at the back.
Yeah, yes it has. I mean, Grant's movement in there has been much better. A little bit more difficult for the England girls to get the ball.
And certainly the rate of scoring has slowed down somewhat, so better if quarter defensively for Scotland.
Yes, yeah, much better. But again, you know, I'm hoping for more at 3/4 time, because I know that they can play better netball than this.
But you're a coach, you always hope for more, Dida.
It's never enough. I wonder if England can capitalise on this.
That was really good awareness by Grant.
So nice try. That's exactly what I would have been encouraging as a coach.
So half-time sees the teams take to the bench with England 44 and Scotland on 5. So very similar to the first quarter. Scotland's defence shut the England attack down slightly. 4 goals difference in that quarter. Scoring rate more or less the same. So tough game out there for Scotland.
Yeah, it is really tough, and that's really tough for the coaching team of Scotland as well, to set their team now some targets for the second half of the game. You know, scoring 2 and 3 in the 2 quarters. I'm hoping to see more. You know, I know these girls can produce more. So let's see, or let's try and guess what those targets are going to be. I'm hoping that they'd be able to keep them at least to, you know, looking at those scores 24 and 20, I would hope that they would try and keep them to about 15 goals if they could, you know, and maybe add on at least 6 or 7 a quarter for them. You know, they've got the ability to be able to do that.
Okay, well, let's see what the coaches decide to do here at half time. Let's bring you some of the replays from the last quarter, and we'll rejoin you very shortly. So I hope you enjoyed seeing some of those brilliant moments from the second quarter here between England and Scotland. I'm now joined by Jerry Maguire, different role now, so thank you for all the commentating this weekend.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thoughts from Scotland on the game so far?
Yeah, there's a lot to learn, lots of takeaways from here. You know, we will focus on some positives, running 9 new caps out there, the experience these young players have learned over this weekend. But we have to reflect honestly, there's a wide gap, huge gap between England, and we have to look at our system and improve that, and that's a process we're currently going through at Netball Scotland. You know, how do we strengthen the system that provides more frequent competition at a higher standard for these young people, so that this is not the first time they're exposed to this level of competition.
And I think when you talk to all the teams, Jerry, it's the one defining factor that they all talk about. And we've sat here and mentioned that all 12 of those England players are associated with a Super League franchise, yes, which gives them that performance pathway, the competition pressure that perhaps other countries don't quite get yet. So how do we collectively work together as a region to try to tackle some of that, so there is that growth in all our member countries?
Absolutely. There's good practice models out there. You've just talked about the England system. We have to look at how do we replicate that in a fit for purpose model for Scotland. Wales the same, Emirates the same, and for Northern Ireland. You know, we all have to look at our own system. What can we do to continually improve what we have at the moment, not just sit in our laurels and rest, because you know we have had lots of decent quality performances this week, but not consistency, and we have to provide a system for our players, coaches across Scotland to be able to contribute more.
So we've talked about Scotland a little bit. There have been some absolute brilliant passages of play, not only in this game but in some of the other games. There's been some great results. 2 out of 3 so far coming into this game, so there's a lot to celebrate. What do you think competing here at an event like this means to a lot of these players?
Yeah, it's the first time you pull on a national dress. It's huge, you know, it's an absolute privilege to do that, and the girls they work hard throughout the season, and actually to step out on court is very emotional, but they should be proud of the journey they've come on to earn that dress. But it's the beginning of a performance pathway journey for them, so there's still a lot of work to do, and I think it brings a reality check to the parental support that travel and support their daughters on this journey at Netball Europe. It is a different setup, it's a different feel, and they really begin to understand what their families are involved in and what it's going to take to continue to progress.
And of course we head to Liverpool later this year in July, where Scotland, Northern Ireland and England will be participating on behalf of the region here. How many of Scotland's players have come through at under 17 level and actually made it up into be a full thistle?
So yeah, we will be sitting at almost 100%. Obviously the final squad isn't named yet, but within that pathway we have the tracking system to show that our pathway programme that sits there now, the development academies, are feeding into the thistle system. That is the purpose of the system. But again, as I say, Lynn, we are looking to review that and to strengthen it and look at what does the academy programme need to do to produce higher quality coaches with more expert knowledge to increase the quality and the quantity of the talent pool to feed into our thistle system.
So because this is performance, Jerry, as we know, you never quite get there. There's always something else
always more to do
for everybody involved in the sport, and we look forward to doing that. We head to the under 17 challenge next weekend.
Yes.
Has that kind of relegation promotion battle added a different feel to the event this year?
Yeah, it's certainly added a different dynamic, you know, more pressure to the coaching teams because the results really, really matter. Every goal matters. It could have come down to goal difference. Had Northern Ireland taken the win today, it was critical that every goal that had been put on the board for you and against was coming into play. So a different dynamic, a lot of different thought process going into the games and more pressure added on. So yeah, it's been interesting to see how that's worked.
And we just want to say thank you to you again for your support this
You're
weekend.
welcome.
Very pleased to see Scotland doing things in patches really, really well.
Yeah, there's been really nice flashes of really good play that we're happy with, but we need to be more consistent.
And of course the CEO of Scotland, Claire Nelson's been on Twitter today,
Yes.
supporting as she always does. Really
Absolutely.
great to have her.
Yeah, we've got great
involvement.
leadership at the top there, you know, and Claire is a huge supporter of our youth in the programme and what we're doing in development, because we have to work really hard as a whole system, performance development together, to continue to improve on the world stage, and that's our ultimate aim.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you and for everybody else. It'd be great to have you.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the
Thanks,
rest of the
Lynn.
game.
Thank you.
So the teams will soon be restarting the second half of this last game. Claire Wilkinson, you're sending in some messages. Thank you for your support on the coverage. We really enjoy it. I'm glad you got no housework done, because I don't think any of us have done this weekend either. So we're all in the same boat here. Please keep your messages coming in. You can contact us on hashtag NE under17 champs. Send your comments in and we will do our best to keep you up to date with the thoughts from those not only here in the region, but we did have some tweets from Australia, so we know our friends from down under are tuning in as well, which is brilliant to see. And remember, if you get a chance, there are many opportunities to listen to netball. Our partners at the Netball Show are always keen to promote, and will be showcasing some of the netball this weekend over the next few days, so feel free to tune in there too. So Deb, the teams are taking to the court again. We'll bring you the substitutions in a second. Scotland's centre pass.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a better third quarter from Scotland, having rested their legs for 8 minutes and having had some coaching input. I'm sure that will make a difference for them. Oh, well weighted, beautiful feed there. Unlucky from Barry. I'd like to see her getting back involved in the game, though. I know that's really disappointing, and that was, you know, really well worked by Scotland there. That's the most comfortable they've looked in the whole game.
And great pressure there at the back. Good reading by Grant, putting pressure. So England weren't quite sure where to put that ball.
Yeah, and you know, and that's what we can expect from Scotland. They can mix up a game a little bit, but again, it's about consistency and making sure that they're not overwhelmed by the occasion. That's a big score deficit to look at, but you know, every quarter that they come on, they should be thinking, right, this is 0-0 now. This is our opportunity to turn over, even if it's just a quarter of a game. You know, that should be their aim now.
So Jerry Maguire was with us at half-time from Netball Scotland, talking about recognising the systems and the pathways that you've all got to continue to review and to develop if you are all to step up to where England are. And of course England are constantly challenging themselves and conscious of where they sit on the world stage with Australia, New Zealand, Jamaica, South Africa. When we head to the Netball World Cup in July, it's probably the most open it's ever been for years, which is brilliant for netball internationally.
Yeah, I mean, that's massively exciting. Somebody said to me, you know, who are going to be on your top four? Obviously, I immediately say, well, of course the Roses are going to be there. You know, Australia and New Zealand, but the fourth one, I mean, that's really difficult. But again, you know, coming back to the pathways and things, it's really difficult. You know, we're all on different journeys. You can't judge somebody's page 55 to somebody else's page 1. You know, England netball are 90 years ahead of the Emirates, and, you know, Scotland are on their journey and Wales are on theirs, but it's all about, as long as we've all got goals, aims, you know, and we're working hard to achieve those, you know, we're doing something right and we're trying to make a difference. That's important.
So 46 against 5 here.
Oh, great. Well read by Grant. That was brilliant. And that's exactly the kind of intercept that Scotland need to be able to try and motivate themselves to actually do something with that ball. They know that they can take it. It's now making sure that they can make use of it.
So good patience Scotland showing now.
I'm hoping that they can put this away. Grant deserves a goal from this. just that patience in attack. If the feed's not on forward, just laying it back to the transverse line to reset it, just to give the shooters a little bit of breathing space. You know, there's a lot of pressure on there, and with that defensive setup in that circle. So, you know, the centre court need to be doing their job as well. Great
interface again by Hole and Neil.
Yeah.
Lots of people joining us on Twitter. Molly Guillen.
Oh, great vision by Neil.
Fantastic. Molly Guillen is pleased that we're helping her get through her A-level revision at this moment in time.
I'm not sure that's going to be the case. I'm not even sure what subject it was, Lynn. If it's netball, maybe.
Wouldn't be great if you could do an A-level in netball.
Oh, yeah. There's so many things that you could do.
Unlucky replaying board against Boland there at centre.
Yeah, see, it's little errors like that that are really costly, particularly as that, you know, they're chasing a big deficit. You know, they need to have a really strong quarter in this to make sure that, you know, in the last one they can come out there really fighting. Just the single leads onto the ball are crucifying them as well, because the England girls, they're fit, they're strong, they will go for first time ball every single time. They've got to offer something different. Harry needs to get in front of Faduju to make her work.
You can see Faduju there out hunting, and it's almost like the pack out there working together effectively, isn't it, as a unit?
Yeah, that's exactly. And that's hard to combat as well, you know, when they're all as one on the court. That's really difficult to find space because they're all covering each other's backs.
So 48 plays 6 here. Lovely baseline drive again by Neil. Slots another one in for England.
You know, some of those supporting moves are just a little bit too static. You know, the Scottish girls need to be like really supporting each other. You know, they need to make sure that they're a really strong drive. That's difficult out there because I think at the minute they're just seeing a sea of red and white. Right, Scotland's opportunity now to get one back on the board.
So Grant has been really effective. She's put just that little bit more pressure on the two England shooters.
Yeah, she has.
Coming out with ball.
Yeah, you know, irrespective of what the scoreline is, you know, the centre court have had a little bit more difficulty getting that ball into the circle because, you know, she's good, she's quick, she's got good vision. It's that kind of, you know, movement and the speed of the ball coming through the court that's absolutely crucifying for a team. It moved through there like a knife through butter, and they've got to be able to stop that. They've got to be able to tuck in and push them up the court and stop those moves down into the pocket as well. I feel at the minute like Scotland are, you know, chasing rather than dictating. It's a little bit too reactive.
So that takes England up to their half century, 50 plays 6.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Vicky set them a target of the century again. I'm wondering if the pace is going to change up a little bit and what she might do with her team in the last quarter. I'm looking forward to an exciting last quarter actually from England, because I'm sure that's what they'll be chasing.
So they're making good ground towards it. 8 minutes of this third quarter here still to play. Scotland centre pass. When you look at the intensity of England, they're contesting for every ball. There's pressure on every player, every pass.
They are, but Scotland are playing into their hands in some way. You know, that they are all in one channel trying to receive the ball, and you know that comes down to, you know, they're clearly panicking. You know, experience counts for a lot, and these England girls, like you talked about earlier, you know, they're all playing for Super League franchises. They're all getting high level of competition week in, week out. We're seeing that out on the court. That experience is really showing through.
But I have to say, Grant back at goalkeeper for Scotland is making a difference in there.
Yeah, it is.
She's winning turnover.
Yeah, and that's great for them. But again, like I said, you know, it's really important that the 6 people in front of her are making use of that, because it's all right turning it over, but you need your teammates to be doing their job as well. Here
come England again. Neil on the ball, and lovely quick hands from Rayner into Thacker under the post. DJ just pointed out to me it's not Thacker, it's Hull, of course, and it has been for the last 2 quarters. Thank you, DJ. Getting very excited here, clearly.
Neil is just having the run of the court at the minute in that circle. You know, she's been allowed to run a little bit, so Sherry needs to close her down.
Nice little left-handed shooter as well.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? I'd like to see the opportunities and attempts that she's had, because, like we said earlier, you know, the ball's not going straight into shooter, and that's probably what Vicky, you know, has said to them. We don't look straight in. Let's try and work the ball into the circle.
Better patience by Scotland. Better, much better.
The game that England played against us was like a game of 2 halves yesterday. You know, for the first half they were looking in all the time. The shooting opportunities were just immense, and in the second half they changed it up, and there were an equal amount of attempts between goal attack and goal shooter, and I think that's what we're seeing in this quarter now.
Great play again between Neil and Holshan. Great level of understanding, and I think many people who've watched this weekend have assumed that the England Roses have been together in camp for some time, and when I spoke to their coach last night, they've had 3 days preparation.
Yeah, I mean, to pull out performances like this with only 3 days of prep speaks volumes about the work that the franchise are actually doing.
So remember, keep joining in with the conversation here. Amanda Hardy, glad you're enjoying watching the future Roses. We agree. There's some phenomenal play there, but great vision, great hold by Barry.
Great from Scotland. It's really nice to see them, you know, put another score on the board for them. 5 minutes to go. Let's see what they've got left in this quarter.
So Claire Wilkinson.
Oh, unlucky from Grant there.
So close. Such pressure though.
Yeah.
Really good on terms of her vision and timing in there.
Yeah, she is, and mixing it up a little bit, which is great, but just not timing that jump effectively enough to take that intercept.
So Strathallan Sport, if I've said that right, Strathallan Sport are very proud of their pupil Imogen, who's playing for Scotland at the event this weekend.
Yeah, and so they should be. You know, schools have a huge part to play in this, you know, even just looking after young athletes. I'm sure all the schools that these girls go to are immensely proud of what they're doing. And another thing that Scotland needs to be doing as well is taking dead ball situations much more quickly. I just feel like they're a little bit too long on the ball, allowing England to set up their defensive units, and you know that's really difficult as well, because you've got to work twice as hard then as an attacking team to make something out of it. Good take by Barry. I'm hoping that she can make use of this as well.
So 55 plays 9, just under 4 minutes to go here in this quarter. Again, good interplay between Bartlett and Hull. So we've been asked, DJ, how Bowen is, who was injured for England yesterday.
I've not heard any news, actually. I'm sure if there is anything wrong that she will be whipped into a hospital somewhere very, very soon. I'm just really disappointed for her. She was outstanding yesterday on the court. You know,
that was a great reverse roll there by Barry under the post. Beginning to just find a fit against Juju now.
Yeah, she is. Maybe, you know, and that's really good for the attacking players on the outside, because they'll take confidence from that, knowing that Barry can actually take the long ball and outwit for Juju.
So we understand Bowen may have injured her knee again. We're not quite sure of the extent of that. I think that will be down to when she gets to the physio and get it scanned in the next day or so. But our thoughts are obviously with her.
Yeah, I know. and we were talking yesterday, that's a big injury to happen out on the court, and that's often when ACL injuries happen, isn't it? You know, no one around, the pressure of the loading on that knee joint is just immense. And you know, I know that one of our Emirates girls, the tall shooter that we had, Georgia Allen, had a same injury 12 months ago that kept her out of the competition, and that really upset her on the court. That's really difficult to see a player going down like that, particularly one that's so young and so immensely talented as well. I'm hoping that she comes back just as strongly as she did in this game today once she's had all of her rehab.
Let's continue to wish her all the best. Keep our fingers crossed for a much better quarter for Scotland this quarter. It's 13-5 at the moment.
Yeah, and that's the kind of netball that they can be producing. You know, we've got 1 minute 55 to go. I'd said to you, Lynn, you know, what was it? You know, about 15, 16 goals, and you know, Scotland should be putting on at least 6 or 7 in this quarter.
Well, all round the court, I think we've seen a much better performance by Scotland so far.
Yeah, and that's not to take anything away from, you know, the England girls. They're playing really well. I mean, Raina's got great vision and body management at centre. You know, she's really lively, and the interchange between her and the attacking unit has been great. And it's opportunities like that Scotland need to be, you know, capitalising on.
Swept up the rebound there.
Yeah, boxing out immediately as soon as that ball has left that shooter's hands.
So just over a minute now, 59-10. Just setting penalty pass. Khadiju says thank you very much.
Yeah,
that one too.
Yeah, and that's pressure. That's the pressure on the wing attack, isn't it? But again, feeling that pressure, resetting the ball will just give them a little bit of breathing space. Great pressure by Tankua. Just, you know, putting off the attackers taking that ball, that makes a huge difference.
Understanding between the goal attack and goal shooter.
It's interesting that Scotland are delaying the ball back to centre pass when actually
you want them to take it.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm sure Sherry was looking at the clock there because she wants to run the clock down and avoid another England goal.
Neil's going to put it away.
Yeah.
What a under pressure shot. With confidence.
You know, better scoreline though from Scotland in this quarter. I'm sure that they'll be pleased with, you know, the few small gains that they made in that.
So Scotland have nicely doubled their score from half time.
Yeah.
10 instead of 5 in the quarter before.
Yeah, having felt that kind of pressure yesterday, you know, that's really difficult for those girls to come back out, but they know that there's only 15 minutes standing between them, you know, and the end of the game. I'm sure they'll both want to come out really strongly now. They know that they can do it, so the Scotland girls now need to capitalise on all of the positives that came out of that quarter and just work really hard to try and replicate that.
So 61 against 10. England were pegged to 17, which was considerably better than the first quarter. So Scotland have come out and defensively. I think that combination of Grant and Sherry proving really effective against the rotating shooters.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm hoping that they're going to do the same. They keep the same defensive unit in the second half. In the last quarter.
So let's have a look at some of the replays for this quarter. Just bringing you now, and we'll rejoin you in a second. So as you can see, 61 plays, 10 here. We're just down to our last 15 minutes of what has been an amazing weekend of international netball. All these fantastic athletes, 60 of them in total from our 5 teams, really are looking at some of the best players of the future here for netball. and I think the future really looks positive, doesn't it?
Yeah,
DJ?
it does. You know, some of the quality that's out there in the court, both individually and with units and within full teams. Yeah, there's certainly a lot to be hoped for on the international stage for years to come.
So this is really your last 15-minute warning. If you'd like to get any thoughts to us, any comments, anybody has stood out for you this weekend in terms of the player of the tournament. DJ and I really don't know who will be announced the player of the event here this weekend, and as we've said before in commentary, the coach of one team selects who they feel was the best player in the opposition. All of that information goes to the appeals panel, who will then will make the announcement shortly, in possibly about half an hour, 40 minutes or so, about who has been nominated. And that must be a great honour to not only come here and compete, but out of 60 fantastic athletes to be named the player of the tournament by coaches.
Yeah, and that's a difficult call to make because there's so much talent out on this court, you know, amongst all of those 5 teams. I wouldn't even want to call it, Lynn, because there is very little between some of those players out there. And for me, you know, taking the court, all 60 of them deserve that, but I know that there's always got to be a winner, so it'll be really interesting to see who that one special person is.
Well, we should look forward to announcing that shortly. So when the match finishes in 15 minutes, don't quite disappear. We will be bringing you live the presentation this afternoon, so stay with us and enjoy all the netball from Huddersfield.
Oh, I'm really pleased that Sherry and Grant are staying out at the back end there just to see what they can do against this England attacking unit.
So we've got some of the changes out there on court, as you can see. We'll bring you the official update on those shortly. Just tidying up the court to make sure the players are safe. Scotland centre pass. And here we go. 61 plays 10. So great to have John and Jude from Edinburgh, not actually that far away, about 4 hours north of here, joining us. You could have driven down and been here with us live this weekend. But great that you've joined us on live stream. I hope you're enjoying the netball and enjoying watching Scotland. Good shot by Barry.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this attacking unit of Rayner and Bayliss. Bayliss obviously being a maverick. I'm feeling a little bit purple and black while I'm sitting in this chair now.
I think it's fair to say, and not many people will know this, it's one of the facts, it was you who came up with the name of Mavericks many, many years ago,
yeah,
DJ, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, sitting in my dining room with
describing
Maggie
yourself,
Jackson.
weren't you?
That was a long time ago. Nice shot, great start from Scotland.
So Scotland now with Flett out at goal attack, in there with Barry.
Back is really calm and composed on the ball, really easy to see in the circle as well.
And Rimmer on at goal attack for England. Thacker back on at shooter. Barry calling for the ball.
It's really nice to see Fiduju out at goal defence as well. They're finding her a little bit more easily in this quarter, Lynn. That's a really good start for Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland are actually winning this quarter at the moment, but Thacker's going to bring them back level. 3-all, 64-13.
Yeah, I'm sure the coaching team will be really pleased with that, and I'm sure the players on the court are feeling that as well.
When Scotland watch it back, they'll see what a positive start they've had, and they'll hopefully give them confidence that actually they could have probably done that from the start of the match a little bit more, perhaps.
Yeah, they could, but you know, little errors like they've just done there, putting it into Fiduju's hands. I mean, great elevation, underestimating that, but you know, it's little things like that that they need to make sure that in training that they're thinking about. But, you know, much better drive in. Great supportive play there from Sherry.
They're letting the ball go quicker as well. They're having more confidence in each other.
They look a little bit more relaxed in this quarter, and maybe, you know, because of the score line, they're just thinking, well, we've got nothing to lose. We've got 15 minutes now to prove ourselves out on this court. This is the last 15 minutes that some of those girls will ever play together at like international level. So this is it. They've got to give it all they've got.
So Barry up to the task.
Shame they couldn't capitalise on that particular ball.
So pleased to have Moden Horse School with us. Really finding it exciting. It is exciting. Lots of passages of positive play by both teams out here. So Thacker. She's had a good tournament.
She's had a great tournament. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if she wasn't one of the players that was certainly not being talked about in terms of player of the tournament.
Your Emirates management team are taking selfies and sending them to us on Twitter here, DJ.
Always,
we can see you all.
Always involved.
Great.
I think like everybody just really excited to be here and seeing such great netball. Nice shot.
So 66 plays 14. England centre pass. They've run the bench really well and effectively. They must have had a lot of opportunity to try out new combinations, see what works.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of the teams have been able to do that as well, which has been really nice, particularly for new players. But yeah, certainly. But England have got strength in depth. I mean, some of the movements that player movements that Vicky puts out there, the transitions are seamless. You know, you don't notice any difference. There is no, you know, delay in play, and it's great. It's great to see.
Oh, lucky Barry just couldn't quite keep hold of that one. It's a speed of transition down the court, straight in, and within 2 seconds under the post.
Yeah, that's it. One mistake and they're going to capitalise on it. And that's what I said earlier, Lynn. You know, anything from a dead ball situation, the ball just needs to move really quickly, and that's one thing that Scotland have not been doing.
But that was great pressure there by Scotland wing defence. With the ball.
Yeah.
Wonder how New Zealand and Australia will possibly put pressure under her.
Yeah, well, you know, now that there's footage live out on the internet, I'm sure they'll be prepared for that, because she certainly looks.
So just a quick apology. Appreciate we lost you for about 10 seconds there. Don't worry if you feel there's any key moments. All the matches will be up at the end of this game on our YouTube. Apologies, just a technical glitch. We're back with you. So we are now just coming up to halfway in this last quarter. 69 England plays 70, sorry, plays 14.
Oh, unlucky. Grant busy there again, looking for that intercept outside the circle.
That's an unfortunate call, because I don't think there was anything intentionally meant by that. She was going for the ball, not body.
Yeah, maybe the umpire considered her to be a little bit late.
You're going to have to have a word with your management team. They're posting photographs of us on and talking about, it is true, you came up with the name. Mavericks?
Yes, yeah, it is, with Maggie Jackson in my dining room.
Did you patent it? Did you get paid for it?
Absolutely not.
You never were particularly
Sadly,
commercially minded, were you,
I
really?
don't know. All about the game.
Great shot by Schwacker again. 7-2, post 14. We are now officially in the last half of this last quarter of 10 games this weekend. It feels quite sad, doesn't it?
It does actually feel really sad. You know, there's a big build-up for all of these players and management teams and support staff and all the volunteers that come together to make this weekend. You know, whilst it's really exciting out there on the court, you know, for all of the players that have played, you know, when anything comes to an end, you know, there is a little bit of sadness, but the best part about it is, like, you know, lining up all together to celebrate, you know, some great netball this weekend. So the presentation, you know, is the best part of it for me, because that's when it's all done, dusted, finished, and, you know, you can all celebrate together the enormity of what they've just done.
So Reina with the ball finds Thacker. Nice under the post to Rimmer. Lovely shot.
Nice shot. They worked really well together as an attacking pair yesterday. You know, our defensive unit really struggled against the pair of them. They're high in particular, but, you know, they're not just all shooters. They move extremely well as well.
Oh, just not keeping that balance. Lovely ball in.
Well seen.
Such strength on the pass, the accuracy.
Yeah. And the vision to see that ball as well, Lynn.
Oh, Fidujo there hunting, putting enough pressure just so the Scottish goal attack Fleck wasn't quite sure where she was.
Yeah, but putting enough pressure on just so that, you know, they fumble the ball and get the turnover. Oh, great intercept. Great reading of play by the centre.
Shane now out at wing attack for Scotland, and again, Fidujo making herself
That's a shame.
annoying.
That's a shame, because, you know, that was a great intercept by Boland. It's really really sad that Scotland couldn't again work that to post for her.
France still working hard in there, getting her hands to ball. 76-14, 5 minutes to go.
You know, I'd really like the score. I'd really like Scotland, you know, to be putting 20 on the board. They deserve that. You know, there have been patches of really good play from them, just a little bit too inconsistent.
Great hands. In there. Again,
You know,
England, tenacity.
Yeah, standing still to receive the ball though, Lynn, you know, at international level, you can't do that, because the defence are always gonna come and take that. That's what they train for. That's a rare miss by Thacker.
And as we've been saying, weekends of this nature are clearly all about the players, the coaches, the support, but we don't have the support that we have without our fantastic Team White, our technical officials, and all the volunteers that give endless amounts of hours to make our sport the success that it is. And I can't thank everybody enough for their contributions, not only here this weekend, but for everything that all you netballers do out there and all the volunteers do to make netball what it is.
Yeah, it's a bit like an iceberg, really, isn't it? You know, there's much more to an iceberg that you can actually see at the tip of it that's exposed. You know, without all of that support underneath from everybody, this sport, we wouldn't be seeing the spectacle that we are today.
And many of our member countries in the region don't have any paid staff. It's all volunteers. I think Emirates don't have paid staff.
Nope.
Mostly, I don't think any of our challenge countries do. Wales, England, Scotland and Northern Ireland do, but again, there's a lot of difference between all of them, and they've worked really hard to have a number of staff.
Yeah, no, and there isn't, you know, and I look at football, and when you compare that against netball, we really are the poor relations, and it's such an amazing sport that it's just really sad that we can't find some commercial backing to raise the game for all aspects of the game in all countries in an equitable manner.
Well, if you are out there watching and you've enjoyed the weekend and you want to help support netball and help us continue to develop it to its potential, then get in touch with us at Netball Europe. We'd really like to have a conversation with you. So just a little bit of scrappy play there, a few unforced errors.
Yeah, I'm sure part of that is fatigue as well. And, you know, with 2 minutes 44 on the clock and, you know, playing some intense netball this weekend, that's inevitable.
Sherry just adjusting her trainer there.
Yeah, it's not quite time to take them off yet. Good that Rayner's keeping on the pressure, not letting Boland have the run of it, but well seen. Great feed into Barry, and for Barry to capitalise on that.
And it's great to hear there's still so much support from all the supporters here at the University of Huddersfield.
Yeah, and like we said, you know, it's support for all, isn't it? You know, it's not just the Scotland fans that are actually cheering for Scotland, which is fab. It's more about the game.
So 2 minutes left on the clock. Just over 79 against 16. Really good quarter for Scotland, the highest scoring so far.
Yeah, and you know, and I'm sure that both the players are great, well read by Faduja. You know, the players and the coaching team will be asking themselves some questions about, you know, why, if we can put out a performance like that in the last quarter, why could we have not done that in the first when they're supposed to be at their freshest?
Oh, what a great vision and choice to find Rimmer under the post.
And to capitalise on that. 80 goals for England now. That's a good scoreline for them. But it's just really nice to see Scotland not giving up though, Lynn. You know, there's 1 minute 20 to go. There's a big deficit in the scoreline, but actually these girls are digging deep and trying to turn over as much ball as they possibly can. Great take by Bayliss on the circle edge.
So using the width and depth of the goal circle there really effectively, England, which they've done all game.
Yeah, and getting it to circle edge for their feeds as well, and not taking the easy option in, Lynn. You know, that Vicky must be really pleased with that.
So we are literally down now, last minutes of the game. Plenty of time for a couple more goals either end. I've been impressed with the fitness, the speed, the strength of all the players here this weekend, Deb.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I know that there's a big difference in some of the S&C provision. Great, well read there, just to take probably the last intercept of the game by Harding. Yeah, there's a big difference in the S&C provision. You can see it in some of the teams towards the end of some of the matches, but you know, England are certainly putting it out there. But across 4 games, they've done really well, all of them.
So players sense the last few seconds they're going to get it down for an opportunity. Where's that ball going to go?
And they're screaming to put the ball in. Great scoreline.
What a great match here to finish the Netball Europe U17 Championships. England emerged the unbeaten champions this weekend, taking the game against Scotland 81-16. So, Deb, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, you know, lots of positives for Scotland, you know, but equally lots and lots to learn, and I'm sure they'll take that back to the drawing room and, you know, put that out on the court next year. But England, I take my hat off to them. The whole outfit, they were just amazing this weekend. Just lovely to watch. Super girls. It's great. They thoroughly deserve their win.
So please don't go too far away. You've probably got time to make yourself a cup of tea before we come back to the presentation here at the Huddersfield University campus shortly. If you've enjoyed this weekend, don't forget you can join us next weekend to do it all over again. 4 games of excitement to bring you on Friday, another 4 on Saturday, and then the final 2 on Sunday. We head to the Rock in Gibraltar to do it all again in the Netball Europe U17 Challenge next weekend. So that is it. DJ, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on Emirates and retaining your place here at the championship level. You'll be really pleased about that. And of course, my special thanks go to Netball Europe, our sponsors Inspire Sport, to Yorkshire and Humberside Netball, our partners QTV Sports, and all the volunteers, as we've mentioned, who make this event possible and who deliver netball week in, week out on those dark and dingy courts outside in all weather. This is what it's all about, and the players and ourselves couldn't do it without you. And finally, thank you all for tuning in at home and keeping us live streamed, not only here in the region, around the world. We literally look forward to seeing you again next weekend. Thank you and good evening.